Welcome back, golf fans. I'm Chris Durrell, and that is,
Dane Chenault.
and we're here for Jaeger Bombs Fantasy Sports to bring you our first look at the 149th Open Championship. Before we get started on the golf, Dane, how's your summer going? Getting lots of golf in?
It's going good. Yeah, getting quite a bit in on the weekends at least. I'm trying to get at least once every weekend, not always working out, but at least 2 to 3 times a month. What about you?
Yeah, I've been mostly on the driving range and spending more time working on mowers out at the golf course this year than actual golfing. But got lucky last night. We went out, me and the kids, and we ended up getting 3 holes in before a big storm came. Good thing though, it didn't interrupt any good rounds. So that's moving on now. We got the Open Championship, absolutely huge week. Before we jump in, I want to tell you guys a little bit about our Patreon site. We are now fully converted over to Discord and the Patreon here. I also write for DFSR. You can check my article out there, but we're patreon.com/JagerBombs. You can get access to my sheets. All 4 of our coaches, that's myself, Dane, Kenny, and Ryan. These are Canadian prices, $13.50. That is $10 American. That is for 1 sport per month. And if you scroll down, you can see that we cover your UFC, PGA, showdowns for rounds 2 to 4 with the PGA, NBA, NASCAR, tennis, MLB, college sports, that's football and basketball, NFL, League of Legends, that's 4 leagues of League of Legends there. You can see the information down below here. Soccer, EPL is coming back now that the Euros are done. CFL package, Ryan's going to be covering the CFL. That's getting started here right away. And then we got the NHL package coming back next season. To get all of those sports is $27 Canadian, $20 American. That's 13 sports total we're covering right now. Join us over there. That gives you access to our Discord as well. We still have the Slack chat open for anyone that is still in there looking to get over to the Discord. I'd like to do that. You'll want to do that before the end of the month here. And yeah, join us. We're pretty much in the chat all the time. We've got a lot of members only stuff going on in that chat as well. So get over and check that out. With that, let's jump in to, just let me bring up the sheet here, and we're going to talk about the Open Championship this week. The course, we returned to Royal St. George's Golf Club since 2011. And if we go look at the Open history here real quick, it was Shane Lowry that took that one home. He's probably still partying right up till his first tee off time here. So it's been a year off. So what are your first thoughts here, like on the course, the return, just the whole event in general?
Yeah, this is really, it's up there, maybe one of the top 2 my favorite majors of the 4. I love the waking up in the middle of the night to watch the start of the round. I guess you're a couple hours behind me, so you're going to be really in the morning. I don't know. It's usually like 3 o'clock lock or something like that. 2 or 3, I believe. So you're looking at 12 or 1. So good times there. But it's always a fun week. Links golf is kind of completely different than golf that we see over here in the States. So there's certain guys that play better there. It's all about hitting it low, keeping it out of the wind, the elements, with not many trees or anything like that on the course. You're going to have a lot of wind that plays a factor in these events. And I like the fact of the creativity that it takes, running the ball up on and around the greens. Around the greens, if you miss, you got to have a lot of creativity to get up and down. As you can see those pictures, it's stunning golf. I mean, we have some of these courses over here that are tried to replicate Link style, but they can't really do it.
It's not the same.
No. Right on the seaside. It's an awesome week, and you're going to have guys blow up kind of like you do in the U.S. Open. Maybe not to that full extreme, but I don't expect to see a birdie fest at all. I think the weather, and you're going to talk about that, has played quite a bit of factor over the years, and I expect no different this week.
Yeah, for sure. So if we go look at the course here, these are the course stats from, sorry, I'll bring up the course stats here from the 2011 Open. Now, things are a little bit different. You could see I posted in chat earlier today that the head greenskeeper was actually talking about a few of the changes here this year. The fairways are a little bit wider. The greens are a little bit bigger. At the time of that video with him on YouTube, and I have that link shared in chat as well, he does talk about how it is soft right now, but by the time first tee off times and Thursday comes around, he's hoping it's going to be fast and firm, and helping that is definitely going to be the weather. We'll talk about that here real quick as well. I will jump over and we'll look at the forecast here real quick. The week looks nice until you start scrolling down here and you get closer to tee off times, and we're looking at 16 to 20 mile an hour winds and gusts up to 30 miles an hour, and it looks like that is going to be pretty consistent through the week. And I know over here though, or not over here, but over there in England, it can change a lot. That's one thing they mentioned with this course, is that the wind will change directions throughout the day and speed, so it's just going to be very tricky. So overall, it's something I'm going to look at a little bit here using the Moosonomics tools, Fantasy National Golf Club, is just some players that play well in extreme winds. So we'll look at that. But one thing we're going to have to do, this is just a quick look at the weather, is we will be touching on this on Wednesday's live show, looking at the weather more closer to lock, because right now 2-3 days out is just too far away when we're talking links golf. So that's something to pay attention to as we move on throughout the week here. So with links golf, is there any specific stats or anything that you're looking for? I know myself, tee to green is just right up there, because breaking it down little by little, yes, you're going to want to hit the fairways, because as you can tell going through some of these pictures here, the fescue, you get in that rough and it can be impossible. You're looking at just chipping out to try and get a next shot at the greens here. So off the tee is going to be big, but then approach is going to be big too, because you're going to want to avoid these bunkers. And I think going back to, let's just look at the open history here, and we go back to 2011, Darren Clark, I believe it was Darren Clark and Phil Mickelson, between them had only went in 3 or 4 bunkers the whole entire week. So staying out of those bunkers is going to be key. So approach shot's going to be big, but then if you're missing greens, that around the green game is always huge in links golf as well. So for me, it's just a full tee to green game with just little bits and pieces of added on here and there. How about yourself?
Yeah, so similar wavelengths there. I think one thing that I am looking at a little more is a lot of things that I've read say, and it's like this pretty much every year in the Open, that it's not going to be a driver heavy course. You're going to be able to club down off the tee. I think that's going to help some players that maybe are struggling off the tee, or just have a really good approach play, but maybe aren't the longest hitters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, around the green, people are going to miss greens this week. And there's a lot of intricacies to these green complexes in and around them. So it's going to be hard to get up and down from some of these positions. So being able to limit the damage there. So approach play and around the green would be the points that I would emphasize from tee to green instead of off the tee for me this week. And then just looking at history on links golf is something that I'm really trying to look at too.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that's mentioned when talking about this course is the undulations and the bumps everywhere. Guys talking about hitting, a perfect drive in the middle of the fairway, hitting a bump and it bouncing just like directly left or directly right into the rough. So there's some unpredictability here. I think, Tom Lehman called the course the most unpredictable open venues he's ever played. So that was a pretty interesting quote. So you're going to have an all-around game for sure this week. And another stat that really stood out was the bunkering. I think it had right around 34-35% sand save rate in 2011. So that is super low. So not necessarily do you need to be, I think that's where it comes in, where you just want to avoid those bunkers. They are pretty nasty when you're looking at how steep some of them are, especially the ones that are going to be in and around the greens are going to be almost impossible to save par. So I agree when you said that the winning score, I think we probably see -5 to -10. I don't know if we reach double digits or not, but I think it's kind of in there, kind of with the range which we've seen back in 2011. Clark was -5, Phil and a young DJ -2, and Thomas Bjorn. If you add in the 2003 Open Championship at Royal St. George's. There was the winner, which it's slipping my mind at the moment, who won that one, but he was the only player under par. So that's 5 players in 2 tournaments here under par. So I don't think we're going to reach, if the wins stay the way what we looked at here earlier, I think we're going to see like -5 to -8 somewhere in there.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to look up who won the 03 because I forgot to. But
It's a
I
long
think
time ago.
something you see with the bunkers that's crazy when you get to off the tee game is people still have to be accurate with if they're hitting an iron off the tee, they still have to be accurate because you can get it in one of those swales that you can see there, and it'll just run right into those bunkers, whether you hit it straight at it or not.
Yeah.
So that's when it comes to off the tee. I don't mean that people can just pull an iron out and slap it down the fairway and be done with it. You still have to be accurate. So I mean, iron play overall. I think if you're looking at approach play, that might even come into play with off the tee. This week, if somebody's accurate with their irons coming into the green and they're able to pick out those spots and hit them, that's going to be something they're going to have to do off the tee and into the green this week.
Yep, I agree with you there. So moving on into the field here, I guess we'll start off with a few withdrawals this week. So early on, we had Matsuyama and Bubba, I believe, both tested positive for COVID. So they won't be there. And then Ryan Moore today, I believe, withdrew with back issues. And then we lost Zach Johnson to, I should word that different. We didn't lose Zach Johnson. He's just not in the tournament. We lost him in the tournament to COVID. And then we got De Jager is the other one that was out there. So the sheet is all updated with that. One thing I wanted to mention here before kind of going in, the sheet comes from a database for form and DK form, which looks at PGA Tour only. So what I did this week to add a little bit more for these guys that are on the European Tour regulars is you'll see under the column D here under country, I highlighted it blue, and then I went and manually updated their current form, looking at both their PGA Tour and Euro Tour mixed in. And then going into tomorrow, I'm also going to comb through all the PGA Tour regulars who played the last 2 tournaments, the Irish Open and the Scottish Open, and add their results in here as well. Because right now, anyone that's a PGA Tour regular, which isn't highlighted blue, is going to be PGA Tour form only. So I just wanted to point that out right away. So what I wanted to do was kind of, instead of just kind of going through player by player or ranking by DK price, I wanted to look at form coming in on the sheet. So last 5 events and average finish, and look at some of the hottest players in the world coming in, because there are some trends with the Open, and 8 of the last 10 winners were ranked top 40 in the official world golf ranking. 13 of the last 14 Open winners had a previous top 10 at the Open here. So it looks like I have an error here for the overall rankings, but I will fix that after. So is there anyone here on this list, like we got Morikawa up here, is there anyone on this list that really stands out to you right away? Maybe even a European Tour guy, like Guido is definitely one. Lucas Herbert's been red hot in terms of form, standing out here on the sheet. So any initial thoughts on that, on any guys that are coming in hot?
Yeah, on that list, I think the ones that pop out the most is just kind of looking at Louis' form in these majors. It's crazy what he's been doing. Obviously, he's a previous winner of the Open. He was at St. Andrews, which is a little different. If you look at the 2 courses, how they compare, you're hitting a lot more drivers at St. Andrews than you are here.
Very wide.
Yeah. But 9,300 for him, I think, is fine. He would be my favorite of that top range. Guido is top range of this part,
the
this
form
of the sheet. I mean, the recent form. Guido is a nice value with the form that he's had. He's looked good both overseas and here. Spieth been very good. We know that he has the creativity that you need. Those would be the ones up at the top of that list that would stick out to me the most.
Yeah, for sure. Lucas Herbert, I like his form coming in, but like you said with Louis, I just think it makes a lot of sense going with Louis here. He's just been amazing at the majors, and just his form overall, he's been doing very well. So I'm with you there. Your thoughts on DJ coming back here? The form maybe isn't great for him coming in, but he's had experience here. I know it's 10 years ago. Did very well in that event as well. Any initial thoughts on DJ coming in?
I don't really like where he's at. Honestly, I think there's other guys that fit the place a little bit better around him, especially in that top range of pricing. There's 3 or 4 guys that I'm going to go to before DJ this week.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. I see your boy Hovland's up here on this list as well. I know that he has got a withdrawal coming in and not so good finishes, so you may get him at possibly some low ownership. But one thing to look at, when we're sorting by DraftKings price, is just the soft pricing for these majors. The top price player, top in odds, John Rahm here, only at 11.3. He's the only player over 11, and there's only 5 players here that are over 10K. So what we're going to have to do for strategy this week is really narrow down our player pool, depending on if you're doing 3 max or 20 max. It's going to be very easy to go and stuff these guys in. So if you're building lots of lineups, it's very easy just to go and just start plugging names in. But the key for me, at least when doing 20 max, and I will be for the major here, is building a 3 or 4 players in a player pool as a core, and then going and plugging in the other guys and just kind of mixing and matching your others. So we're going to have rankings up on the sheet here. I'm going to have some notes. That's going to be starting tonight for members here. My top 10 players with notes. If I have time, I'm going to get into the top 20. But this is ranking by my points per dollar rankings and my own personal exposure. So keep that in mind. Is these are the players, like my top 4 player core is most likely, I haven't gone through it yet, but it's going to be like my top 4 players. So I'll take those top 4 players and I'll mix them in with guys ranked 7 to 10. And it's all going to depend on pricing, obviously. But that's why I rank them points per dollar. Any strategy tips or anything that you're following this week that's different from normal weeks just because it's a major?
Not really. Just kind of, I do like listening to some of the press conferences just to hear some things that people are finding in some of these practice rounds. I know I've already heard about that the rough is a little longer than they normally see when they come over here. So that just, again, plays into the fact that you're going to want to be in the fairway and however you can get there.
Yep. How much are you looking at Open Championship history and how guys have done at previous Opens, even though they are different courses? I know myself, I like to look at it because it is a different style of golf. It's a completely different major than the other 3, and I know all of them are different in their own ways. But this one definitely sets itself apart for me with the link style golf. It's only 5% in model, but if I'm coming down to a couple players and really narrowing it down to that last spot, it is something I will look at to decide. It's not something that is too high in my model, just because the courses can be even different, even though they are links courses.
Yeah, it's something that I'm definitely looking at because, like you said, we've talked about how the link style is quite a bit different, and people tend to play better on this. Well, I know it's different courses, like you said, but the Open Rota is kind of similar overall in the fact that they're links, and we see people play good in these tournaments year in and year out. So if somebody has consistently played well in this event, then I'm definitely going to be weighting it quite a bit more. If somebody's played well in one, I see up top Bob Mack finished 6th in 19. I do like him. 7,300 is fine for him, but he's not somebody that I'm going to – and I know with him that he's played overseas more links golf than just that. But if it's somebody like a U.S. player that we see has played – I'm trying to think of a good example, played like one good Open and the rest of their results are kind of middling, I would lower what I'm looking for there.
Keegan Bradley stands out as he had some good results, but mostly middling results. So yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. Andy Sullivan, but he's kind of on the Euro Tour. But on this list now that I'm sorting by average finish, I just got it by the average finish of the last 5 Opens. Something that I will do is sort by that, and I'll look for some values. Like you can tell, the guys that have the best average finishes over the last 5. Look at all these values, these guys in yellow, the cheap prices. So then what I'll do is I'll go pick out those guys, and I will just kind of scroll across and I'll start breaking down their form. Jordan Spieth is one. He's been very consistent here. 9,700. He's under 10K. Might be a good place to start. He's coming in with some pretty good form here. More recent form, or Tony Fino stands out. He's got top 10s in each of the last 2 opens. Never worse than T27, but he's coming in with terrible form. What do you think on his ownership? People looking at the Open, are people sick of him? He's only 8,400. That seems to be a pretty good price for him to get him in there at this event. He's been really good at the Opens, as you can tell here. He likes the link style golf.
I think he's going to be low on for sure, just because
that form's terrible.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to find something right now. 8,400. I know that's cheaper than we're used to getting him, but I think he's going to be low on. So if you want to take a stab and just hope that he comes overseas and finds something, go for it. I don't think that's going to be for me this week.
The one guy I'm kind of keen in on, I'm wondering if you're backing up the Brinks truck this week, because there's a couple things that stand out here. He's third in price. He's been, 3 top 10s with the top 5 in 2019, but 3 top 10s in his last 4 Opens. He's coming in with top 5s in 3 of his last 4 events. And courtesy of PGA Splits 101 on Twitter, he looked at links rounds since 2015, and right there at the top, you got Brooks Koepka, 50 rounds since 2015 on links, 137 strokes gained total. That is an average of 2.75 strokes gained per round. Second would be Xander Schauffele on that list. Jordan Spieth is third at 2.22. They're the only 3 players in this field that average over 2 strokes per round total on links golf. Are you all in on Brooks this week?
I don't know if I'm going to be all in, but I'll definitely be on him. For sure. 10-7. I know he's getting up there in the Rahm territory. Rahm is the clear favorite here. But Brooks, I think the thing that helped him quite a bit was when he didn't go straight on the PGA Tour out of college. He actually went overseas to the Challenge Tour in Europe. And I think that really helped him when he comes over here now. He can kind of go back to some of the experience that he got there. And it's really helped him in the Open, as you can tell. 10th, 6th, and 4th in 3 of his last 4 Opens. So he was right there in chasing Shane Lowry home at Portrush. So, I'll be right back on him with the form that he's had to go with it.
Yeah, I think on Wednesday when we're going to be breaking down ownership and some pivots, I think the chalk in this top range is going to be Rahm, Koepka. I think we're going to see Spieth right up there in ownership as well. Oosthuizen is going to be up there as well. I think there's going to be 4 of the top 5 in ownership here this week. Just as an early look, looking at fan shares, they're pretty close in terms of that as well. I see Brandon Grace right now is leading, whereas he's way down here at 7,200. So that's a pretty good price on Grace, back-to-back top 10s in the PGA Tour. He's one that I haven't adjusted. Did he play at the Irish or the Scottish Open? Do you know? I'm going to bring that up here and just do a quick search.
I can't remember right off.
Okay, so
I'm thinking he played the Scottish.
Yeah, here we go. He T54. So nothing great, but his last 2 events on the PGA Tour. So that might be one I'm going to have to reconsider for sure. Down here in this range, seeing that he didn't really do great at the Scottish Open last week with that form coming in, whether you weigh that enough or not. But I think the top tier is pretty straightforward as of right now with Rahm, Koepka, Spieth, and Oosthuizen. So I think there's going to be some definite opportunities to get some low ownership. And again, I don't think we need to exactly fade all of these guys that we talked about, but maybe of those 5 guys, you're going to want to narrow it down to 2 to 3 of them, and then maybe grab 2 guys and pivot off them and make your player pool that way, unless you like splitting. And this is a tournament where we're going to see lots of splits just because of just the way the pricing is set up, especially on DraftKings.
Yeah, so I agree with you completely there. I know we didn't talk about this pre-show, but how do you feel about doing like a three pack of picks here early in the week? A core play, a GPP play, and a value play. How's that sound?
Done. Okay.
I see the
I'm gonna have
wheels
to
turning.
scroll through. I'm
I
gonna let
see
you
the
go
wheels.
first. Let's just go
Yeah,
pick.
so
Let's go core play and core play. So let's keep it in. What do you want to do? Like stick all in the top range, or like obviously value play is going to be down, but we'll go core play. Yeah, and then a
we'll
GPP
play
pivot maybe in
anywhere.
the. Okay, sounds good. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so the two core plays that we'll go with Shane Lowry. I'm right back on him, 7,900. I was on him when he won at Portrush a couple years ago. That was fun. That week I missed a big hit because I had Neiman, of course, my man Neiman, and he misses the cut. I had Brooks and I think I had Fleetwood too and Lowry. But Shane Lowry has had awesome form this year. He's coming back over here. You know he wants to keep that claret jug and party for another year. I mean, he's already had two. I know he didn't have great form in the Open prior to his Portrush win, but I think the form that he's had, I think he's very suited for this event. 7,900, that's where I'm going to go. Second core play for me would be Terrell Hatton, 9,000. We know he's got the form on links style courses. I think there's a few different European events that he's done really well at. I think the Dunhill links is one that are just pure links courses. That's the thing too. If you're looking at European results from history, you got to really dive into what those courses are, because every course over there is not links. Just I think that could be a misconception for some people. But Terrell Hatton has the style of game. He can get hot on approach. He's kind of like the Kevin Kisner in my eyes of European golf. He's kind of like that bulldog type guy. He can get really pissed off, but he can get really hot too. He has the around the green game that can get it done. Oh, perfect. Is this Hatton? Oh,
Yeah,
4.1 strokes around the green, 2.8 in his last two events. Following right into what I'm saying. I like it.
But read your mind here.
We know he can get it done. So those would be the two core plays. The third one I think is going to be a popular value. For me, I just don't see how you don't play Daniel Berger all the way down there. I think he's $7,400. He's not played great over here, but if you go back to 2015, he was not the Daniel Berger that we know now. He was not as consistent back then. He does have that 27th in 2017, and we know he has the form coming in here. He's been great really since the restart in 2020 last year. And I was reading Ben Coley's article. I don't know how familiar you are with him, but he mentioned a quote from Berger last week that with how wet the course was, he's not a great high ball hitter that can get it to where you need to when it's a soaked course and you have to do a lot of carry. So he's a little bit more of the low ball, flighting it into these greens. So I think that suits him for here. And 7,400 is insane.
Yeah, that's a really good price. I agree with you there. Hatton was definitely going to be on my list. He stood out right away. So you stole that one from me. I do really like that. For me, Louis is going to be core for me. He's just played so solid lately. Like these results are absolutely insane. Form coming in. He's played good in the Open Championship. And going back on Hatton, you had mentioned the links golf, and going back to that PJ Splits 101 on Twitter, he's top 10 in his model. Hatton was actually ninth. 1.65 strokes gained total per round on links courses. So that definitely stands out as well. Other guys that stand out, top 10, and my GPP play in this discussion that we're having is going to be Xander. I really like his form coming in. He is 7th on that list on his model, gaining, like I said, he was second to Bruce. Bruce, that's what my wife calls Brooks Koepka. She called him that. Is that Bruce? Second behind Koepka at 2.5 strokes gained total per round. So I do like Xander. I think he's going to be outside the top 10 in ownership. So that's my GPP play. Louis would be my core play. They're both kind of in this high range. Scrolling down, I really want to get on Higo after his form has kind of fallen off here. He's got winning capability. He was crushing, and he's got mixed form here. Of course, he's in blue. So this win here was the European Tour. So all the way back here is European Tour, and then moving over is PGA Tour. So he does have that win in there. The rest of the form has not been great. I do like that. That's going to be like a GPP value. But Alex Noren is someone that I'm going to have probably as a core value at 7,200. He's done very well. T17 or better in 3 straight Open championships. Coming in, the form with him is always seems to be very up and down. But coming over here now, and if we're going off of good week, bad week, he's due for a good week and coming over to the Open Championship. So I definitely like Noren at 7,200, and I don't think he's going to take on a lot of ownership here. So he is going to be my guy, and he's 20th in that model. 1.32 strokes gained total per round on links courses. So that would be my little 3-pack, 4-pack. I think I went over my limit, but I apologize for that.
Yeah, so you can close out and then give me 1 second. I'm going to get something for the video before we get out of here.
All right, I'm going to put it on the sheet. And one thing I wanted to go look at here is look at some fantasy national stuff. I got a lot more stuff. I wanted to look at win players. So I got a last 50 rounds, and I went down on their page here, and there is a ton of filters. So make sure to go check them out. But I went windy AF, and that is anything I believe in the 13 to 18 mile an hour range. So pretty much what we're going to see this week. I went to the absolute extreme. So I just wanted to look at a few guys here at the top. Here's the top 10 in terms of strokes gained tee to green. On the win, Ricky Fowler right at the top, 7,300. I just heard. I think Dane is back. We talked about Ricky Fowler. I thought I could get that in before he returned, but I guess not. Anyway,
hey, I am going to be on him this week, I think. So.
Yeah, that price I like, especially if it's going to be windy. But here are some other players: DJ Rory, Ben Ann, Ryan Palmer. Ryan Palmer played over. I believe he did quite well here at the Scottish Open last week. Yeah, he finished with a top 5 finish. I believe it was a bit windy in the mid round. I think Friday, Saturday had a little bit of wind at that tournament, but so he's coming off a good round there. So he stands out a little bit in that model. Then Sergio Garcia, Hideki is out, withdrew. Berger's on that list. He's top 10. And like you said, that relates, I think, a lot to that ball flighting that you had talked about, keeping the ball low. And then Corey Connors, just a really good ball striker. I'll mix him in as well if it's going to be windy. If it wasn't going to be windy, he's a guy maybe wouldn't mix in the majors so much. But if it's going to be windy, I do like a few guys on this list here. Palmer, Berger, and Connors being 3 nice values. And then Ricky Fowler, like we talked about as well. So bring Dane back here. I'm going to go back to the sheet. What do you got for us, Dane?
I've got the shirt. I've got the Brooks shirt.
You got it. It showed up.
I couldn't get the Brinks shirt, the
Brinks
polo that Nike came out with, but we went with this one. I'm going to be Team Brooks this week and probably every week, sadly. over Bryson for me, but I had to pick one of the teams and go with it. So we're going with Brooks, and he's gonna bring it back, I think, this week.
So I guess I'm gonna have to go online when the show's over, and I'm gonna have to order myself a Bryson shirt now. You've made my decision for me. We can't both be on Brooks.
So you've got to overnight it so you can wear it Wednesday night.
Holy shit. Okay. I don't know if I can do that. There's no place in Canada that I'm going to get that. Overnight from the States to Canada now is impossible. It's going to cost me $1 million. But I will.
Hey, everybody liked the video, so we can make it. We can pay for Chris's overnighting because we're going to need about 1 million views here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy a white T-shirt, and I'm going to get my kids to make something on a shirt for Bryson that I can put on there. That's what I'll do for Wednesday. And then going forward, of course, we'll have it. I love this. Speaking of Bryson, what do you think of his price at 9,900 here? He has been terrible at the Open Championships. And one thing I've noticed with Bryson is when he's bad somewhere, which I believe, when he's not good at one particular place, that trend, it just seems like it's in his head. And I know I'm the Bryson guy now. I've taken on the Bryson thing, but it seems like it's gotten in his head. So is he someone you're going to consider at 9,900? That seems a little cheap. It does, and his odds seem a little cheap too. But
yeah, 33.
I'm seeing 35 to 1. What have you got
You
on the
almost have to make a
30?
bet. Maybe it's an outright week for him.
It's just I think there's too many question marks with the deal with the caddy. The fact that he is not willing to club down. I don't care where he's at. That's kind of what gets him in trouble at Augusta. He just don't play the correct shots. I mean, there's a certain way you got to play some of these courses. I understand you need to be able to take advantage of your strengths, but I just don't
know
see
when
it this
to.
week, to be honest. Maybe he surprises us, but
And while the dangers are different from Augusta and Royal St. George's, they're they're both very, very penal to miss the fairways. Like I know Augusta's wider,
right.
but still, if you go in the rough here, you're definitely not making birdie if you go in that tall fescue, and you're going to be very hard pressed to make par this week going on there. So I think a lot like the PGA Championship in terms of scoring. I think we're going to see some guys, perform really well, and you could say this for almost every major. Is there's going to be some guys that perform really well. There's going to be some good scores. There's going to be some really, really terrible scores, and there's just going to be some middling guys that kind of may go under the radar for the first 2 days, kind of sitting out there feeling out the course. A lot of pars, maybe one over, one under, one birdie, one bogey, maybe 2 and 2 type thing, kind of sit around even par and then just kind of show up on the weekend. But it's really going to come down to weather, and we will touch on that Wednesday. So any final words here for this preview video?
I think that does it. Like you said, Wednesday will be a fun show for us, looking at ownership, looking at some different things. So, and then lock will only be a few hours away. So fun times.
Yeah. See, that's going to be exciting for the Wednesday show. Is you said locks 3 a.m. Eastern, I believe it is. So that's 1 a.m. my time.
Usually, I think they'll come out with tee times tomorrow.
See, there was a day and age when I used to be able to stay up and watch the Open Championship. Now, when I try and it's I maybe make it to 12, and then 12:30 is tough, but 1 is really pushing it for me.
We just got to do the show early, set your lineups, get in the bed, wake up early. There you go.
Yeah, and then just stay up. That's probably the way to go, because the coverage for the British Open, the Open Championship, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely amazing. It's usually from first tee right till the end. You get to see more coverage than almost any other major championship. It's absolutely awesome. So thanks for joining us for the show. If you guys got any questions leading up, one more thing, gonna have a free roll this week again. But having a few of those in the Discord here recently, as well as the DFSR members. I'm going to have it open here and share it in the comments of the video below, as well as I'm going to be sharing the free roll in the chat. It's going to be a $50 gift card to Fanatics. And if you are a Patreon member or a DFSR member, I will double that if you win. So far, the first 2 free rolls we've done this way, patrons have won both times. Absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for the support, and we'll see you on Wednesday.